So today we're looking at a relationship that you may be in where your partner is who you believe sex addicted. And the question is, should you stay in the relationship or should you go? And that's what we're going to talk about here today. My name is Rob Lopicola. I'm a transformation specialist and I am sober from sex addiction as well as meth addiction and alcohol addiction for nearly 12 years. I have about a dozen years free from the horrific grip of addiction. And if you have a partner who you believe is sex addicted, you are likely experiencing a lot of pain, you feel betrayed, you feel deceived, and you are worried that your partner is, well, involved with other people online or offline, perhaps cheating on you, and you are in so much pain and so much discomfort, you are broken and you feel like you need to leave this relationship. You just can't stand it anymore. If you feel like you're in a dilemma where you don't know if you want to stay or go, leave this relationship or stick it through, I'm going to give you one reason to stay, and I'm going to give you one reason to leave. Now, there's multiple reasons why you may be staying in this relationship with who you believe is sex addicted, and there may be many, many reasons why you should go. Get out of a relationship where your partner is sex addicted. But I'm going to focus on one reason to stay today and one reason to leave. First and foremost, though, I want you as the partner of who you believe is sex addicted to understand sex addiction. And I want to soothe your heart just a little bit. Your partner's sex addiction truly has nothing to do with you. Now, it's affecting you and it's hurting you, but it's not because of you. Your partner who is sex addicted is not doing anything deliberately to hurt you or break your heart or break your spirit. The addiction is powerful for the sex addict. It's as powerful as heroin or cocaine addiction. Sex addiction is an addiction that is in the mind that goes with the person 24 hours a day, everywhere they go. So for an example, if you're dating a cocaine addict or a heroin addict, they have to go get the drugs to use it and get high. For the sex addict, the drug is in the brain. It's in the thoughts. And it's in the chemical reaction that takes place in the brain to the body when the sex addict is either fantasizing or thinking about their addiction or actively involved in their addiction, whether it's at home, online with pornography or sexting or cybersex, or going out to sex clubs or perhaps having affairs on you. It is not personal. I know it feels personal. I know you're taking it personally, and you need to because you want to protect yourself. So I don't want to devalidate how it is affecting you, and personally it is affecting you, and you have to make a decision if you want to stay or leave, and we're going to talk about that. But I want you to understand it doesn't have to do with who you are as an individual or who you are as a partner. You may be a wonderful, wonderful, well-rounded, grounded, loving individual, and if your partner is sex addicted, it has nothing to do with how wonderful you are. It is their addiction. It's affecting you, but it's their addiction. They are not doing it deliberately to hurt you. Now, that's a premise, and I hope you understand that premise. But also, their active sex addiction is the responsibility of the addict to face the truth and get help. And we're going to talk about right now one reason why you would stay and one reason why I would suggest you leave. The short of the long, sex addiction is an obsessive compulsive behavior. It's an obsessive behavior because of the obsessive need to think about sexual acts or sexual behavior or pornography, that the thought of it, the fantasy, is the obsessive thinking, the obsessive behavior. And then you have the compulsive behavior that once the sex addict starts acting out sexually, they find it almost impossible to stop, whether it be pornography, sexting, cybersex, or other activities, hooking up online with other men or women, or going to sex clubs. These are compulsively addictive behaviors. And for you to determine if someone is sex addicted, it's not necessarily very easy. You can go online and take a look at symptoms, but I'll tell you what the main symptom is if your partner is truly sex addicted. Their life is becoming unmanageable. Got it? It's that simple. Now, People can abuse their sexual behavior. They can abuse their sexual activity in such a way that it's hurting them or you. And then there are those that are addicted. And in addiction, their lives are becoming significantly unmanageable. They're spending more money and you're not able to pay your bills. They're neglecting you as a partner in the relationship. They're lying to you frequently and you're catching them in their lies. And then they make you feel like you're crazy. They defend themselves and make you feel like you're crazy because you're seeing and noticing their sex addiction, because they're acting obviously inappropriately and they're breaking boundaries of the respect for the relationship. Now, I want you to understand this, and this is like a side note. A relationship, the essence of a relationship, especially romantic, but even friendships and family relationships, but romantically, is you need to become a better person because of your relationship. You are a better individual because you're involved with this other person. When you're in a relationship, two of you become better people because of each other. And if you're in a relationship where you are not becoming a better person, a more well-rounded, spiritually centered individual, if it's tearing your life down, you don't like who you are in this relationship, you're unhappy, you don't feel like you're growing and becoming more healthy. Well, if you're in a relationship where you are becoming less of a person, if you will, less confident, less secure, less successful, depressed, down, unhappy, that alone may be a reason for you to leave. Because remember, a relationship is about two people becoming better because of each other. So the question I lay out to you before we even get into this, are you a better person because of this relationship? Pay very close attention to your answer. Now, I'm a transformation specialist. I'm also a certified life coach, and I work with sex addicts and recovery in their addiction. I'm also sober from meth addiction and alcohol addiction, and I understand a lot of what the mechanisms are in active addiction, and also about sobriety, what it's like getting sober and experiencing a healthy, spiritually grounded lifestyle. So I'm talking with you today from experience, not as a therapist. I'm not a relationship therapist. I'm not a relationship counselor. I'm simply a transformation specialist and a life coach. And I'm talking from experience. So take what I'm going to be suggesting to you today and file it. And then ultimately you need to make your own decision of what you feel you need to do in the relationship that you are involved in. So let's get to it. There's one reason why I'm going to suggest you stay, to perhaps give time for the relationship to succeed. And I'm going to give you one suggestion of why I believe you should leave and get your life together out of this relationship. You need to confront them. And depending how they respond to that confrontation will depend on the decision you need to make, whether you stay or go in this relationship. If you see the hallmarks of sex addiction and you know that your partner has been online exchanging pictures with strangers, they're watching pornography extensively, you are actually noticing and seeing the behaviors of a sex addict, and you confront your partner and they make you the one that's crazy, and they tell you that they don't have a problem with their sexual behavior, but you know they do. But they won't admit it. They won't take responsibility, and they make you feel like you're crazy. But you know that they are involved in active sex addiction. You see it in the pornography, the cybersex, the sexting. Perhaps they've already had affairs that you've forgiven. They've promised you that they'll stop their pornography. They'll stop cheating. They'll stop sexting and having cybersex with strangers. And yet they continue the behavior. And when you confront them on that and they deny it and make you feel crazy, that may be a catalyst or a sign that you need to get out of this relationship. Because if the person doesn't take responsibility for it, they will not change. And I'm going to tell you this, you don't have the power to change your partner. Your partner must be willing to take a look at themselves and do what it takes to change. So if they are in denial, make you feel crazy, and they tell you they don't have a problem with their sex addiction, and they're repeating these behaviors that are breaking your relationship apart and hurting you and bringing you down and making you miserable, that may be reason enough for you to exit the relationship. Now, saying that, it's your choice. I'm only giving you an idea. I'm only giving you something to contemplate of whether you should stay or leave. And that's one huge red flag that you may need to get out of this relationship. I mean, do you want to be in a relationship with a sex addict who is not willing to take a look at it, who is not willing to change their behaviors, who repeatedly lies to you, who repeatedly tells you they're going to change and they don't? Now, I want you to understand, in their heart, they may really want to change. They may really want to stop those behaviors. They're not necessarily giving you promises on purpose and then purposely doing those activities again, or purposely acting out sexually again. It's not a personal affront against you. It is an addiction. And if they're not willing to see the addiction for what it is, they're certainly not going to get help, and they're certainly not going to stop. And you may need to leave the relationship not because they're bad people, not because you hate them, but because the relationship is breaking you apart. You are becoming insecure and vulnerable and spiritually shattered. And until they are able to look at their addiction, you're going to need to save yourself. Because no one's going to save you from your relationship other than you. And you're going to need to make a decision if you want to stay in a relationship with a sex addict and be miserable, or leave. Now, saying that, there is a reason to stay. Now, as I stated earlier, there's a lot of reasons to leave and a lot of reasons to stay. I'm only talking about one reason on each spectrum. And I think that this is the core reason of why you should leave or stay. And one of the reasons why I believe you could stay and the relationship has potential is if you confront your partner about their sex addiction, and they have to be this way with you. They have to do this with you. They have to be honest about their sex addiction. Full disclosure about their sex addiction and their behaviors. Full disclosure. And you must be willing to listen, hear them, and then they must get help, because they're not going to get sober from sex addiction on their own. But if you want to stay in your relationship, you must open the door and allow your partner to give full disclosure of their sex addiction, the activities that they have been doing. Because I guarantee you they're ashamed, they're embarrassed, and they feel guilty and dirty. And if you want your relationship to work, you must be willing to hear them. And you have to hold on to and grasp that you're not the victim, and it's not a personal affront against you. It's their addiction. And if they're going to open up to you and love you enough to be honest, and you love them enough to listen and help them get help, I suggest you give it a shot and stay and see if this relationship will magically change and prosper. So that is the short of the long of one main reason why you might want to leave and one main reason why you may want to stay. My sex addiction through the course of my life made me cheat and lie, stay on pornography, sexting, cybersex. I didn't want to live my life that way. I didn't want to hurt the partners that I loved and spent years with. But being a sex addict, it was as addictive, if you will, or as controlling of my life as breathing and hearing and seeing and eating. I mean, it was just so, it felt like such a need, and it felt like such a part of me that I lived a life of addiction and hurt a lot of people. But sobriety is possible. Sobriety is wonderful. And your partner who is sex addicted, if they get the right help, the right guidance, their lives will transform, as will your relationship. So I'm going to strongly suggest you tell your partner to come to my channel. I have so many videos on strategies and techniques to break free from sex addiction, and to have a 30-minute free strategy session on how to break free from sex addiction. So I strongly suggest you take a look at the link below and send that to your partner and tell your partner to watch the video. It's a 30-minute sex addiction recovery video for free. And I have an ebook free as well. I'll have the link below. The ebook is 5 phases of recovery and transformation from sex addiction. So all the 5 phases, from denial, where you're denying you have the addiction, to spiritual enlightenment, where you're living a life where you're thriving as a successful individual. Also on my website, I'll have the link below. I have a quiz that your partner can answer. It's, I think, 25 or 35 questions, something like that. They can answer all those questions, and I'll let them know the severity of their sex addiction and what they can do about it. So I hope that this enlightened you, gave you some ideas, and I want you to know I'm here for you too. I'm a recovered sex addict, recovering and growing and experiencing progressive spiritual development so I can live a life till I die, sober and clean from all addictions, drugs, sex, and alcohol. I'm multi-addicted, and I love living this sober life. So I'm here for you as well. So feel free to watch more videos on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like this video if you liked it for me, please, and throw me a comment if you'd like as well. And if you want to educate yourself on sex addiction because your partner you believe is sex addicted, learn more by watching more videos I have here on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being with me today, and I'll see you next Tuesday. I post a video every Tuesday, so I'll see you next week. God bless. Take care.